Take my advice. Don't get amnesia. Amnesia sucks. It's not like in the movies. You probably won't wake up thinking, why am I in a room full of bloody corpses with a strange symbol tattooed on my palm? No, it's the little pain in the arse bits of missing information that make up the real mystery. Amnesia sucks because you hear your friends joking about stuff that happened at a party. Your party. And you feel as if you weren't even invited. It sucks because you remember watching scenes from the season finale of your favorite show, but forget watching the episodes leading up to it, which is basically the same as reading a spoiler. It sucks because your computer is full of files you created or downloaded that don't make any sense out of context. I'll elaborate on that last point in a second, but let me start from the start. A few months ago, I was visiting the Newcastle Ocean Baths with a group of friends. We made our way over to the bogey hole later in the afternoon. Apparently, I fell and banged my head on a rock here. I was only in a coma for 3 days, but when I woke, I'd forgotten the 6-week period leading up to the accident. I remember bits and pieces of things that happened in this time, like short snippets of conversations or brief parts of nights out, but I can't recall entire chains of events. My friends and family have been very supportive, and their eyewitness accounts and the photos on my phone have helped me fill in most of the blanks. From what I've discovered, those 6 weeks were a disappointingly boring period of my life. Work, study, party, repeat. Bang head on rock, forget. Now and then I'll come across a file hidden away on my hard drive that I seemingly created during this period of forgetfulness. For example, I'm always finding text files containing login information for websites I joined during those 6 periods. And I've never heard of the band Abingdon Boys School, but according to my computer, I like them enough to download their entire discography. I've also found an image file named Jointzilla, a picture, likely done in paint, of a large refer chasing stick figure people through the city. That sounds like the type of crude bullcrap one of my mates would send me, and I'm not puzzled to find it on my computer. However, one file has left me more stumped than any other. While searching through my folders not long ago, I came across a plain text file named Jokes. The first oddity I noticed was that the file was 3.24 megabits. That's bigger than most images I have saved. I double-clicked the icon, expecting to discover about 1 billion lines beginning with "a guy walks into a bar," or "you know you're a redneck when." Understandably, Notepad had trouble loading the text. And when I clicked the window, it gave me a not responding message. But after about 10 seconds, I discovered this. If these are jokes, they're in a language I don't speak. The only legible text is a date several years in the future. After that, it's all just a string of random ASCII text. I scrolled through the file, but at no point does the knee-slapping hilarity begin. What does this file mean? Why would I download it? And where from? I don't know why this jokes file has more intrigue than, say, the login information I found for forms that no longer exist, or that crude drawing on my desktop of a naked female body, with the breasts squinting like angry eyes and a speech bubble coming from her private saying, "Not yours." I'm probably attaching significance where there is none. Still, if anyone has any information on what this could mean, please drop me a line at email address removed. Any help would be greatly appreciated. Update 11/9/15. Hey all. No new info on the jokes file. Just writing to let everyone know that I'm alive and well, and that I haven't experienced any further brain damage. The other day I pushed the same door marked pool twice within 10 minutes. But that was me before the accident. I'll keep linking this blog around and see if anyone can solve the mystery. Update 7/11/15. A friend tells me he's developing a program that works like a reverse search engine, where you upload the file and it crawls the web to find where other versions of the same file are being hosted. Kinda like the search by image feature on Google Image, but for sound files, video, excludable, and the like. I figured this will help me find the source of jokes.txt, since typing jokes.txt into a search engine gives me nothing, nor does typing any of the actual text within the file. It'll be a while before my pal has the program in a working alpha state, but he promises it could help me find where I downloaded that jokes file from. Update 25/2/16. I'm removing my email address from this page. Since putting it up, I've received 3 times as much spam. No, I'm not interested in increasing my size, thank you. But only recently have I received a flood of emails from strangers with comments like this. I've had a doctorate in neuroscience for over a decade now, and I estimate that the accident has damaged the language center of your brain. Any healthy person could read the text in that screen cap you posted just fine. The first line says, 2 rabbits and a priest walk into 1E1/2 AAOOCATOAE50EKOA. As a trained medical professional, I'd recommend taking 50 aspirin and calling this number 1800ZUACEUAO. I'll admit, I had a chuckle at this message, but it was the first of about 200. It appears that someone posted a link to this page on /b/ or somewhere and told all their friends to have a good old screw with me. Some of the emails were funny. Most were poorly spelled. A lot were just plain cyberbullying. So I've removed my email address from this page and will probably abandon that account altogether. So basically, losing my email account has been the crux of these past 7 or so months of keeping this blog. I've pretty much stopped posting links to this page around. Not that I no longer care about figuring out my past, but I feel I've reached a dead end with this site, and my interest in the jokes file in general is waning. My friend's reverse search program might still be useful, but I doubt he'll get that finished any time before 2043. So I may as well just try moving on with my life. Update 8/10/16. Okay, so it's been a while since I last updated this page, but I've come across some huge developments. I've been seeing on these revelations for weeks, and I'm only just posting this now because it's taken me a while to wrap my head around what I've found. I thought I may as well post this on the in appariticious date of October 8th, 5 years before the date that appears as the beginning of the jokes.txt file. It's a long update, so whoever's reading this, which is probably just the trolls that caused me to abandon my email account, bear with me. My friend just has finished the alpha version of that reverse search program he's working on, much quicker than I was expecting. In fact, I used it to search for jokes.txt a few weeks ago, and it yielded no result. The file apparently didn't exist anywhere on the net. So, putting this search engine aside for the moment, I did some more sleuthing over the possible meaning of the jokes file. I found one solution on the tech forum, where you open an image file in Notepad. It displays a string of random text resembling the picture as code. Someone must have created the jokes file, as an image, then changed the file extension to .txt for some reason. So naturally, I rushed to change the extension of the jokes file from .txt to .jpeg. And when I double-clicked the file, nothing. It told me the file was corrupted, which I took to mean the extension wasn't meant to be .jpeg. I changed it to .png, .til, and a bunch of other image formats, but it still wouldn't open correctly. Work became hectic at that point, so I put the whole mystery aside for another week. I then returned to my laptop, and I tried opening the jokes file with extensions for other file types, video file and sound file, though as much of a techno-dope as I am, even I know not to run mysterious files from unknown sources as executables. If this file was a video, it wasn't a .avi file. Finally, I tried changing it to jokes.mp3. This is where things got weirder. The preview told me that this sound file went for 2 minutes, 8 seconds, meaning it actually was meant to be an MP3. So I double-clicked it and listened with my best headphones, apprehensive about what I was about to hear. It was a low-quality recording of someone playing the piano, a tune I didn't recognize, while a man spoke over the top. His voice was muffled in a real "that's one small step for man" kind of way, so I couldn't make out many words. But my first thought was that whatever jokes he was telling had something to do with a 12-inch pianist. There was also no laughing track, which I'm always thankful for. Now, I'm no maestro, but I know that whoever was playing the piano wasn't an expert. They had trouble keeping tempo, and at one point, about 30 seconds in, they hit a sour note. The pianist then dicked around on the keys for a few seconds before beginning yet another melody that I'm not familiar with, but which reminded me of the X-Files theme. All the while, the man continued to speak. At around the 1 minute mark, the guy pauses briefly, as if unsure of what he's saying. Not long after that, there's a sound that I at first thought was a door creaking, but quickly realized was a young girl's scream. The man pauses again in reaction, and I'm almost certain his next words are, "What the?" He keeps talking, and after saying a word which sounds like transformation, there's this glitchy dip in the audio and some child or animal starts whimpering. At about 1:30, the man groans loudly. This actually shocked me. He starts speaking more urgently as several high-pitched screams begin to overlap. I think the kid is even screaming "no" Then, just as the recording reaches its climax, it goes silent. Well, almost silent. I wasn't willing to turn my speakers up any louder at that point. Before the playback bar had reached the end, the track stopped. I was confused. I still am. What else is new? I've listened to it a few more times, especially in the process of taking notes for this blog. When I listened to it on loop for an hour, I started getting a headache. I still have no idea what it means. Maybe this was all some prank, but by who? What led to me downloading it? And why did someone change the file extension to a format that prevented it from playing? And now the really strange part. So returning to my reverse search engine my friend made, I thought that maybe the reason it couldn't find jokes.txt anywhere on the net, besides maybe my pal being a lousy programmer, was because that file technically didn't exist. So I tried searching for jokes.mp3 instead. Turns out I was right. The mp3 was being hosted here. From what I can tell, it's exactly the same as the file I found on my computer. So that solves at least one mystery, right? I know I might not know what the file means or why I downloaded it, but at least I know where from. There's only one problem. According to this hosting site, the MP3 was last modified on April 19th last year, the second day of my coma. Update 3/11/17. Been over a year since my last post, mainly because little has happened that warrants posting about. Still no answers regarding the jokes file, but over the last few months, there has been 3 small revelations I've had regarding my coma. So here they are combined into one extra juicy super update. One day this August, a chain of thoughts led to me suddenly remembering something from the 6-week blackout period before I banged my head. The thing I remembered is a conversation I was having with a few friends. We were on our way to a party out at a property, and we'd stopped at a servo to pick up some ice. No, not that kind of ice. For some reason, I brought up the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. Disclaimer, I've actually watched very little of that show, but come on, who hasn't seen that first episode with the statues? This led my mate to go into a tangent about Kirby games. Specifically, he told us about how most games in the series have King Dedede as a final boss, and his evil plan was to steal all the food in the kingdom, or something equally goofy. But once you beat him, you unlock the real final boss, which is always some enchanted algorithm of eyes, spikes, and shadows that look like it was born from the darkest realm of Cthulhu's rectum. According to my mate, the final boss in one Kirby game was literally a weeping angel, one who wept blood. Not the kind of PG-13 thing you'd expect to see in that sort of game. I don't know why I recently remembered this conversation. Probably just random, it's not much, but every recovered memory matters. The second revelation is something I gradually realized over September. First, some backstory. There's this musical instrument and equipment shop not far from where I live called Musso Corner. Back in 2005, when I was a wee lad, the place burned down, and they temporarily had to set up shop elsewhere. After the fire, there was this one creepy arse ad I kept seeing on TV. It involved panning shots inside the burning building, with close-ups of charred acoustic guitars and keyboards where the keys had melted. The store's walls were dark as pitch, almost like the inside of a cave. There was a digital animation of a flame running along the bottom of the screen, and this one low, haunting note rumbled throughout the whole ad. This ad freaked me the hell out back at that tender young age. I still have no idea why Musos strove to make the ad as chilling as possible. For a month, I couldn't even face the TV during ad breaks. I had seen the commercials in 2005, I think. Now, the thing I slowly came to realize this September is that I have memories of the ad from my pre-coma period. Not distinct memories, as in remembering watching the ad then, but it's hard to explain. It's like I've had a revelation that I was having a revelation about the ad during the memory lapse period. It feels as if during that time, the ad became significant again after all those years. That brings us to my third recent discovery. I have a friend who's an aspiring DJ. She's really into sound design, and she has all the equipment, including turntables, mixers, speaker systems, the works. She also has a dog. He is a little Shiba that she adopted back when the Doge memes were the order of the day. And he's just the happiest doggo in the world. You could be carrying a set of nurturing tools and he'd still look pleased to see you. In October, I brought my friend the jokes.mp3 file to see if there was any way she could analyze it, being more versed in the science of sound than I am. She still hasn't given me an answer. But that day, the first thing she did was play the MP3 track through her God-tier speaker system. Listening to the tracks through those speakers, I just felt it, the way I hadn't felt it before. My heart was actually palpitating. The sound was rattling my bones as it never had before. The problem is, I wasn't the only one. From the moment it started playing, her dog was paying attention, staring at the speakers. A short while in, he began to growl. By the end of the track, the happiest dog in the world was barking at the speakers as if jokes.mp3 were an intruder. We hadn't tried playing it through her sound system since. Update 14/4/18. I'm running on fumes here and struggling to believe half of what I've seen lately, so please forgive me if this log seems rushed or nonsensical. I haven't been sleeping well lately. The nightmares are getting worse. Partly nightmares about that damn Musso Corner ad, but also one's more connected to the jokes file. I've been dreaming about that I'm sitting in my dark bedroom at the computer, typing ASCII symbols into a notepad file to create jokes.txt. What I'm typing looks to be random, yet I seem to know exactly what I'm doing and why I'm creating the file. It's hard to describe, but I feel like I'm searching for God in this code. The screen's brightness is set to its absolute lowest, and as I get closer to the monitor in my search, I eventually see the reflection of a bleached white humanoid standing behind me in the darkness. I'm horrified of this person or thing, and this is the point where I either jump under my bed sheets or shake myself awake. I never turn to examine the intruder, though. I instinctively know that would be the worst idea ever, and what I saw might fry my mind. On the topic of fried minds, that brings me to the reason I'm making another update. I've tried putting the mystery of the jokes file behind me and getting on with my life. And somehow, I just know that that's the cause of my rising night terrors. When I realized this, I decided to open up jokes.mp3 with Notepad one last time. If I really was searching for God in this file, there had to be an easier way. I never expected to find ASCII art of a bearded man sitting on a cloud. I never expected that what I found wouldn't sell me more than the MP3 file had. Wait, what? Scrolling down and resizing the window, it was a random code. It was deliberate. Oh God, it's my fault. I've killed them. Please wake up. It's just a nightmare. Time to wake up. Please, someone help. I didn't mean to. Why won't someone help? Without space. Followed by another message. Let her tears of crimson agony be your portal into hell. How did something like this end up in the code of an audio file? Who wrote it? Who was this intended for? What the HE double fudge six is going on in my life? And to think, I dived back into researching this file in hopes of ending the nightmares. I kept searching through the text, but I haven't been able to find any other message. Cannot find God. Yep, that sums it up. Update 9/8/19. So much time has passed since I began this blog. It feels like time doesn't mean much to me anymore. As if a whole season can pass, and when I look back on it, none of it even happened. As if memories are no different than ideas. It's hard to explain, and quite depressing. I guess it's just what getting older feels like. I went back to the bogey hole the other week and looked upon the site of my falling. My friends say I climbed on the rock face and fell backwards, banging my head, but that no one actually saw me fall. It doesn't sound like me, engaging in such dangerous activity. I've never felt safe walking the slippery ground here, let alone climbing. On a recent visit, I lay in the spot where I'd reportedly been found unconscious, and I closed my eyes. A memory came back, or maybe an idea. I remembered the feeling of pain spreading through me like hot mercury. I remember thinking of all the wrong I've done, of my greatest mistake and my toxic inner self, and I remember the melancholy of knowing as the hard ground rested against my back, and I heard the crashing waves, that soon it would all be over. Did I really fall? Update 8/10/20. As an obligatory update, seeing as only 1 year remains until, well, whatever. Not that I have much to say. My life is both stagnating and flying by way too fast. Only by now, focusing on how fast/slowly time is passing, can I maintain my relative degree of sanity. I can't believe it's been over 5 years since I began this blog. Just wish I had something, anything, to go on after all this time. Kinda gotta prevent myself from caring. I'm actually doing okay right now. Update 8/10/21. Finally, I can see. I see the world for what it is, and myself for what I am. I understand the significance of this date. Most of what I know can't be put into words. And who would even read them? The important thing isn't the words, but the knowing. It's just a shame that I was so myopic before I came to this place. So much misery could have been avoided. The nightmares got worse. But at the end of every nightmare, you wake up. And it took the worst nightmare for me to wake up to this degree, but I'm not fully awake yet. And ironically, I'll have to discard this thing I call my mind, my awareness, to reach this state. I was in a ring of different rooms, which connected to each other and surrounded a circular space with a door leading into each. More accurately, I was in an outer passageway surrounding that ring of rooms. It was like I was backstage at a theater. The rooms were separated but connected stages, and the inner space was the audience. One of these stages had pitch black walls with a pair of lights pointed towards the audience door. I stood behind these lights, which pulsed with white light as a man walked through from the center of this theater. I couldn't make out his identity with all the flashing, and I doubt he even saw me there, blinded as he must have been. Two separate voices recited a prophecy to the man, but he ignored it and exhaled right back out the door. I headed into the stage area and took a path that led away from this whole set of rooms. The venue slowly became more damaged, as if by fire. This was confirmed when I passed through some sort of music studio full of blackened instruments made of charred wood and metal plastic. The feeling here was beyond unsettling, so I hurried my pace, but the blunt corridor stretched on for what felt like infinity. At last, I emerged into a space where the roof had been torn open to expose thorny brambles that obscured the sunlight. It was more rubble than room. Most of the illumination came from the crackling fire that dotted the remains of wooden desk and broken drywall. A humanoid figure with bleached white skin and feathered wings sprouted from its back knelt in the middle of the scene. A ring of shining golden runes hovered above their head of mused green hair. As I got closer, I realized they were young. They were sobbing uncontrollably, unaware I was there. I circled around this person or creature, trying to glimpse their face, but too afraid to reach out and touch them. When the sound of an approaching helicopter grew louder, the creature looked up. They stared right through me. A single streak of bloody tears ran down their right eye. That's the moment I remembered everything. And that's why I'm standing here today, at the bogey hole, looking out at the ocean, the crashing waves, the calling gulls, the gentle breeze that ruffles the fabric of my clothes. It's all so peaceful. And that orange sunset above the ocean, to think in all these years, or a period of time I perceived to be years, I never questioned the sun setting in the east. But this matrix still manages to be beautiful, even when I've learned to look between the lines of code. I wish I could stay. I have friends here. I wish I could stay me and not have to untether this collection of experiences that I consider to be myself. But there's a tyrant only I can take down. And I hold the key in my right hand. A big lighter that cost me $2.50. That's the price of saving the world. I wish I didn't have to endure the smell of petrol while standing in this pristine nature scene. I also wish I wasn't still so scared. What if I'm wrong? What if this recent clarity is just insanity and the world exists as I believed it did before my great awakening? This might hurt either way, but I'm done feeling incomplete. There's only one solution, and whether or not anybody reads this, I'm posting this final update for old time's sake. Even in my last moments, I can't get away from my precious technology, my laptop by my side, connected to the net and ready to post. Once I've made my post, I'll light the spark while soaking in one last glimpse of this seaside sunset. Have a good one, world. You've been unreal.